Hey everybody, so I recently did a cover for Give Me One Good Reason by Blink-182. I don't remember if I did a lesson video for this or not back in the day. If I didn't, then here we go. So I originally learned this song using the official tab book way back in the day. We're probably talking, 14 years ago or something. I don't have the tab book anymore, but from what I remember, they said that there were two guitars at least, and one of them was with a capo on the second fret and one of them was in standard. And the way that I had figured out a long time ago to get around that was to use a capo on the second fret but not include that low E string. So that's still playing an E note and all the rest are playing that open second fret. So what that allows me to do is still get those lower chords, essentially like a drop D. Well, it would be drop E in this case. But you could still use the normal fingerings for the rest of the song. So like for the intro, if I had this capo on the second fret and I detuned that low string, I'd have to really make some weird finger positionings to actually make those chords work. So I always felt like this is the best way to play it as a single guitar player, and I think it works out pretty easily. So capo on the second fret, don't include the low E string, and otherwise standard tuning. So from there, intros. Also, I want to note on you do need to have that capo on the second fret for certain parts, like that harmonic. That's like right before it leads into the verse. If you didn't have that capo on the second fret, that harmonic would not sound right at all. Plus it just makes certain parts a lot easier, like that open note, I would have to hit, I'd have to do something weird, and yeah, it just doesn't work. So intro goes like this. Not that last one. So that's a 7 on the low string, a 7 on the next string, and then a 6, and then an open on that D string. And then you're going to do 7, 9, and then open descending on those strings. You're going to play each of those notes. You're going to play each note 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 again, but then you're going to play that last note twice. And then you're going to go back to that first part. And you're going to slide up and doing the same basic hand positioning with a 9 on that low string, an 11, and then an open on the D string. And then you're going to slide down to a 5 and a 7 on the two low strings. You're going to slide back up to that same 9 and 11. And then you're going to go back down to the 7 and the 9. And then that's when you're going to do the harmonic on the A string on the 9th fret. And if you're not familiar with harmonics, it's basically just resting your finger just above where the fret actually is. You're not pressing down the fret. You're just resting it right over where the fret actually hits and then plucking it. And then from there you're going to the verse, which is pretty simple. These are just a couple power chords. First one is just open, first 3 strings, and then the next one is going to be that open A, even though technically it's a B now with the capo on it, and then you're gonna do it. You're gonna fret the next 2 on the 4th fret. Technically the 2nd fret after the capo. And then you're gonna go up to the 4th fret and the 6th fret on the next 2 strings. And then you're gonna go down to the 5th fret and the 7th fret on the 2 lowest strings. 5th fret and the 7th fret. And then you're gonna go back to the 4th fret and the 6th and 6th fret on the next 3 strings. And you're gonna end on that that first chord, or not the first chord, but the 2nd chord, which is the open 2 or 4 and 4. It's very confusing mentioning fret positionings with a capo, but you know, try to go with the way it sounds more than what I'm actually saying. And then from there it goes into like the pre-chorus, which, you know, you're strumming that open chord a couple times. I like to add a 2 or technically a 4 on that G string, which is just an extra octave of this note. Just makes the chord sound a little fuller. So you're doing that chord a couple times, and then you're hitting the 6th fret on that D string, and then you're palm muting the open A, and after that palm muting you're doing the 6th fret and the 7th fret, and you're just hammering on from the 6th to the 7th. So slowly it goes like this. And then from there it goes into the chorus, which is just a couple different chords. So really it's just 4 different chords. The first time around you're only doing 3 chords, and then the second time around you're doing 4 chords. So that first chord is just that same open chord I mentioned before, with open, 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 and then a 2 on that G string, or technically a 4. And then you're doing a 4 on the E string and a 7 on the A string. And then you're doing the open A string, a 2, and another 2. And like I said, the first time you go through, you're playing that chord, that 3rd chord, a little extra. You're playing twice as long, because the next time around you're going to go from that chord down to a 5 on the E string and a 7 on the A string. From there, it's going to repeat a couple things. You're going to go back into the intro, and then you're going to do the verse and the pre-chorus and chorus again. And then from there, you're going to do a bridge section, which is pretty fun, actually. It goes like this. So you're going to be doing the same hand position basically for all of those chords except for one. They're just octave chords, which means the 2 notes that you're actually strumming are just octaves of each other. Those are both E's, for example. And you're just going to keep your hands in that same position, but you're just going to change where it actually is on the neck, except for that that one chord that's down here, which is technically another octave chord, but you're doing an open note on that A string and a 2 on the G string, but I'll get to that in a second. So I'm just going to go with positions. So this right here is the 7th position, which means you're starting at the 7th fret. So a 7 and a 9 on the A and the G string. And then you're moving up one full position, 2 frets, to a 9 and 11. And then up another full step, 2 frets to the 11 and the 13. And then half a step to the 12 and the 14. So from that 12 and the 14, you're going back down to the 11 and 13. Then you're going back down to the 7 and the 9. And from the 7 and the 9, you're playing that a couple times. And then you're doing that open chord that I mentioned before, which is the open. And then you're going to mute. You're going to have to mute the D string there. And then you're going to fret the note on the G string. So slowly that first bar goes like this. And then you're going to redo it, and it's going to be fairly similar. All that part stays the same, but the ending part, instead of doing, you're going to be doing. And basically that's just doing a 9 and an 11 and sliding up. You're not going to fret, you're not going to strum this next chord. And you're going to slide from that 9 and the 11 up to the 11 and 13, and then you're going to slide from the 11 and 13 down to the 7 and the 9. And then you're going to do that first section over again. And then the ending sounds like this. So that part's the same, but after you do that slide one last time, you're going to do an extra slide from the 7 and the 9 to the 8 and the 6 and the 8, and then back up to the 7 and the 9. So that last section slowly goes like this. And you can definitely hear in the song that Tom doesn't fret those, or he doesn't strum those extra chords. You just got to get used to really nailing your sliding. It can be a little tricky at first, but once you do it a few times, it should get a little easier. So I believe that's it for the whole song. You just go after that, you go back to the chorus, and that's basically it. So hopefully this helped. I know some of my explanations weren't 100% helpful, but hopefully the capo trick helps you out, and it makes this song a little easier for you guys to play. If you have any questions at all, feel free to let me know in the comments below, and if you have any suggestions for other videos, just let me know. I'll see what I can do. I'll see you later.